Hi there, welcome to Spline Universe. I'm Maya, a Spline expert designer, and your guide through the world of interactive 3D. On this channel, I will show you step by step how to create interactive 3D designs using Spline. Today, we are going to make a mysterious UFO that follows your mouse. All the modeling, animation, and interactivity will be done entirely inside the Spline. Before we start modeling, let's take a quick look at the structure. Our UFO will have a passenger, but he comes from the Spline library assets, so we won't be making him in this tutorial. I will show you how to add him into the scene later. The UFO itself has a small light on the top, a rounded metal body with lights and a dome cover, and a glowing round light at the bottom. The cover will use glassy material. We don't need any external image textures for this project. Alright, let's get started. First, log into your Spline account from the Spline website. My account is paid plan, but it's totally fine if you have a free account. Click New File on the top right to create a 3D scene. The 3D editor will open in your window. By default, there's a rectangle on the canvas. We don't need it, so let's grab this object, then press the Delete button on your keyboard. Next, go to the global setting on the bottom right, and change the snapping setting to Object. This will make it easier to align the object as we build. We also don't need the default color at this point, so let's delete that as well. Now click the plus button on the top toolbar and select a cylinder object. Click and drag on the canvas to create a cylinder. This will be the main body part of the UFO. Don't worry about the size yet. We will adjust in the Properties panel. Click the top green dot on the viewport so we can see from the top view. Place the cylinder in the center. You can zoom in by scrolling the mouse wheel. Let's change the size to 960 and then copy and paste that value into both the Y and Z fields. Now go back to the front view. The nice thing about the cylinder is that we can set different values for the top and bottom size. For now, I will scale the height down to 110, set the top to 75, and the bottom to 90. We can also adjust the corner size. The larger the number, the rounder the corners. I will set it to 10 for now. Okay, the body part is done. Double-click the cylinder object in the list to rename it. Let's call this one Body. Renaming object is super important to keep your scene organized. Next, let's create the bottom part of the body. Select the body object and press Ctrl D to duplicate it. Rotate it by holding the Shift key, or just type 180 directly in the Z rotation fields on the Property panel. Move it down under the body object and scale it down a little bit. You don't need to use the exact same size as me. Feel free to play around with the values. I will use 0.8 for the X, Y, and Z scale. Place the bottom object right under the body part. I will change the corner size to 0 so it becomes a more solid, hard shape. Move it up slightly and adjust the top and the bottom size. I will set the top to 85 and the bottom to 95. Alright, the bottom part is done. Again, let's rename the object. I will rename it Bottom. Now zoom out and pan the viewport. You can pan the camera by holding the mouse wheel or by holding the Shift key and dragging on the screen. Change the viewport to the top view. Now we are going to make a dome cover. Go to the top toolbar and select a sphere this time. Drag to create the sphere. Go back to the front view and move the sphere to the center. Move it up a little bit. Just in case, let's lock the scale property. Scale it up to about the same size as the body width. Then move the sphere to the left. I want to make half of this sphere into the dome cover, so align the sphere and the body on the Y position. Switch to the top view and move the sphere to the top of the body object. To make it easier to see, let's change the color from the material property. I will use white, but any color is fine. Adjust the Y position of the sphere. Let's also make it a little smaller. I will set the X and Z size to 700. Align the sphere and the body parts in the center. Maybe the dome should be smaller. Let's try 550. That looks good. You can orbit the camera by holding the Alt key and dragging the screen, or by holding the Control key and the mouse wheel button while moving the mouse. Let's go back to the front view. Next, we will make a mesh from the sphere. Move the sphere to the side, make sure the sphere object is selected, and click the Smooth and Edit button on the right. Now it becomes a mesh object. No need to change the subdivision level. Set all the rotation values to 0. Then click the Edit Mesh button on the right. We only need the top half of this sphere, so drag to select the lower half and press the Delete key. Place the dome on top of the body parts. Feel free to adjust the heights however you like. I will set the Y size to 310. Okay, now we have a dome cover for our UFO. Let's rename this mesh Dome. Duplicate the dome by pressing Ctrl D and rename it Bottom Right. Select the bottom right and move it to the side. Rotate the D angle to -180. Let's also choose a different color from the dome. Again, let's edit the mesh. This time, we will only keep the bottom part. So drag to select the mesh you want to delete, then press Delete. Move the bottom right underneath the body. Just in case, check the position from different angles. Go to the front view. I will make it slightly taller. Adjust the size however you like. Actually, I'd like to make the bottom part smaller, around 0.65. The bottom right can also be moved up slightly. Now let's finalize the alignment. Go to the top view and select all the objects. On the top right, in the alignment property, set Align X to center. Go back to the front view and move the directional right position. In the alignment property, you can align selected object by XYZ values. If you hover your mouse over the distribution tab, you will see guidelines on the object. Y alignment is green, Z alignment is blue, and X alignment is red. I will do a final check from the top view. The Y alignment does not need to change. The Z alignment can be set to center. Go back to the front view. Before moving forward to the next step, let's organize the objects. Select the bottom light and the bottom cylinder by holding the Shift key. Then press Ctrl Z to group them. Rename the group bottom group. Next, select the dome and body parts. Then move them up to the top. Now the object layer order matches the actual 3D model order from top to bottom. Okay, let's add the ring lights on the body parts. Go to the toolbar and select Tools this time. This shape is basically a donut shape. Drag to create the torus. Go to the top view and rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis. You can change the tube size from the Shape Property panel on the right. I will choose 10 for the tube size. Move it to the center of the body. Scale it up to about the same size as the top of the body. Be sure to hold the Shift key to lock the aspect ratio. The shape size is 865. Go back to the front view. Place the ring in the middle of the body's Y height. Change the material color to white. Adjust the position of the ring. If the size is too small and covered by the body parts, make the ring size bigger. Something like 870. Still small? Let's try 880. That seems fine. Maybe it can be placed slightly lower. Orbit the camera to check from a different angle. I'm happy with this size, so let's rename the object Outline. Alright, next, let's make the lights on the body parts. Go to the top view. Add a cylinder object from the toolbar. For now, set the corner size to 0. Let's change the color to white. The cylinder size can match the grid line. The actual size is exactly 100. To see more clearly, hide the dome cover for now. Don't forget to rename the object. We will call this cylinder Lights. This time, we will use a modifier called Clone. Select the Clone modifier from the bottom right, and it will open the Clone modifier panel. By default, the clone type is set as linear. We want to use radial this time. Now you can see the clone object created around the selected cylinder in a radial shape. Change the count number to whatever you like. Change the axis from Y to X. Let's check from the top view. I will set the count number to 8. From the radius value, you can adjust how far the lights spread from the center. I will set the radius to 328. Let's show the dome again and check that the radius value looks good. It seems a bit too tight, so open the clone modifier again and change the radius value to 335. Orbit the camera to see from a different angle. Seems fine now. Let's go to the front view. The lights are too tall, so change the Y size to 25. Place them on the body parts. I will also change the corner size They can be rounded lights or sharp corners. Make any light shape you prefer. I will set it to 20. Move the light object under the outline tools. Hide the dome cover again and select the light cylinder. We don't need the center shape, so in the base modifier, set it to hide. Okay, next, let's add a little room space inside the dome. Add a sphere and place it in the middle of the body. This time, we will use Boolean operations. If you are familiar with 2D graphic tools, this feature is similar to mask. Make sure the sphere is placed in the center of the body. Rename the sphere to Boolean. Move the Boolean layer to the top of the body. Select the body first, hold the Shift key, and then select the Boolean object. Now you can see the Boolean modifier appear on the top right. There are 3 operations. Choose the middle one, Subtract. You will see that the body now has a concave surface. Move the light aside to see more clearly. You can adjust the subtract size by moving the Boolean shape. Basically, the area covered by the sphere will become a concave surface, which will create a room space inside the body. I'm happy with this shape. Let's rename the group body.group. Show the dome again, and let's change the material. Select the color layer and change it to a glass layer instead. Set the blur value to 0. Now the dome cover is see-through. Alright, we have one last object to model. The antenna light on the top. Go to the top toolbar and select the pen tool. Click on the top of the dome and create a path. You can make a curved line by holding the cursor. Exit from the pen tool and change the color to white. Now, let's convert the shape to a path. We can change the stroke size. I will set it to 10. Make sure the object is placed in the center of the body. Select the path and change the caps to round. Add a sphere and place it at the top of the path. Rename the path stick and the sphere top right. Orbit the camera and adjust the position. We can edit the path by clicking the Edit Path button on the right. I will change the stroke size to 8. Let's group the path and the top right by pressing Ctrl-G. Play around with the position and rotation of the object. Just in case, let's lock the scale. Maybe the top right can be bigger. I will set it to 60 and the stick can be 12. Feel free to change the size or the line path shape however you like. Make sure to check the object from different views. Since we are making a 3D model, we want it to look good from every angle. Okay, let's rename the group toplight.group. Let's move the light layer to the top. Select all the objects by holding the Shift key and group them with Ctrl D. Rename the group UFO.group. All good, the modeling parts are now completed. Next, we will set up the materials. Select the body group, then go to the material panel on the right. Hit the plus button to add a new layer. Let's add a rainbow layer. This rainbow layer creates a metallic effect on the object. If you orbit the camera, the reflection will change. Although the default value of 100 is a bit too strong, let's set it to 60 instead and change the layer mode to screen. Open the rainbow layer and change the frequency to smaller value. I will set it to 5. You can see the beautiful reflection like a metal surface, right? Now, let's change the color to a bluish tone. The color code is 303033 if you want the same color as me. We can also create a material asset to use this material more easily in the future. Select the dot icon right next to material and open the material asset panel. Make sure the body group object is selected, then hit the plus button to save it as an asset. Double-click the asset and rename it Metal Silver. Let's find other objects that can use the same material, such as bottom parts. Select the bottom object's material and choose the Metal Silver asset. The stick of the top right can use the same material too. Again, open the material panel and select Metal Silver. Let's set the lighting in our theme. Delete the directional light and add a spotlight instead. Move up the spotlight position. Change the camera orbit by holding the Shift key and the mouse wheel, or by holding the Alt key. For the spotlight, we can change the intensity, distance, and angle. I will set the intensity 2.90, distance to 1100, and the angle to 31. The edge blur can be 0.3. Select the dome cover and change the shadow setting to receive only. Change the side setting from front to both. Let's update the material for the dome. Add a new material layer and select Fresnel. Change the bias to minus 0.50 so the dome has a subtle reflection of the light. The factor value can be 1.05. Go back to the front view. Let's change the background color. Make sure no object is selected in the scene so you can see the background color property on the light. I will use 11A29 for the background color, but you can use black or any other color you like. Next, we will set up the material for the lights around the body. Select the lights and turn off the light layer to make them super bright. Add a new Fresnel layer. Change the color to a slightly gray tone. My color code is 82889A if you want the same one. Adjust the bias to 0.11 and the factor to 0.94. Actually, I will change the bias to minus 0.03. Looks great. Now let's make the material for the lights. I don't want shadows from this top light, so let's change the shadows setting to none. Go back to the front view. Select the outlining light. I want to make it slightly bigger, something like 887. Okay, now change the color of the outline. I will use a bright blue color for 8EFFF. Again, add a Fresnel layer. Change the Fresnel color to a lighter version of your outline. I will use ADFFFF for the color and 0.40 for the bias. We are almost done with the material settings. Let's change the top light color. I will use orange FF9C00. You can choose any color you like. Zoom in to focus on the top light. Same as the outline, add a Fresnel layer. I will change the Fresnel color to a very light yellow FECB2 with a 0.42 bias value. Scale, intensity, and factor can stay at the default values. Alright, let's create a material asset for this top light. Open the material panel on the right side, hit the plus button, and rename the material yellow light. Select the outline light, and create another material asset the same way. Rename it blue light. Select the lights around the dome cover and create another material asset. Rename it white light. The last material is the bottom light. We can use the yellow light as a base since it has the same layer structure, but let's change it to a brighter color. I will use FFB748 for the color layer and change the Fresnel bias value to 0.1. Check that your UFO looks good from different angles. It should look really cool. Actually, I forgot to add a floor inside the room. Go to the top view and add an ellipse shape. It can be same size as the middle concave surface. Rename the object floor. Move the floor layer above the body group. Change the exclude value to 3. Move the floor down so it is placed inside the UFO's body. For the shadow setting, select Receive Only. Change the color to darker tone. I will use 27272F. Let's add this as a material asset and rename it Floor. Okay, finally our UFO is ready. Let's add a passenger too. Go to the top toolbar and click the plus button. You will see the template option here. This template selection includes free assets from Spline. They actually have plenty of options, so I highly recommend check it out. This time, I will search for an animal model. So many cute animals here, right? Find your passenger from here. I will choose you, locally squid. Double-click the 3D model and it will take a few seconds to load into your scene. Now I have a passenger squid. Depending on the object you choose, the model may be made of multiple meshed or shapes. This time, I don't need the ink on the bottom, so I will delete that mesh. We can also change the material includes the color. I'm happy with the default colors. Adjust the scale and position of your passenger. It's up to you which object to place inside the UFO. It could be 2 or 3 small characters, or just no passenger at all. The UFO itself looks great even on its own. Follow your inspiration. I will adjust the spotlight angle to 30 and change the shadow settings to no. The intensity controls how bright the spotlight is. I will set it to 2, the distance value to 1100, and the angle to 29. I really like this little squid, especially the kind of troubled face. So let's add a point light to highlight the front of our passenger. The point light intensity can be lower than spotlight, so I will set it to 0.5 and adjust the position so it highlights just the front of the UFO and the squid face. Set the shadow setting to no. Let's look from different angles to finalize the point light value. You can also change the light color if you want. I will leave the color as white, but reduce the intensity to 0.35. Beautiful lighting requires a lot of experience and knowledge. I'm still learning about basic lighting myself. To gain knowledge and inspiration about lighting, I recommend reading some books on cinematic lighting or watching movies and observing how the scenes are lit. Ask yourself, where does the light come from? Which direction is it shining? What kind of environment is the scene? The lighting in movies is created by professional lighting designers, so we can learn a lot from them. You can also explore inspiration in your daily life, in the office, outside, in restaurants. Inspiration is everywhere. Oh, by the way, in Spline scenes, we also have scene light settings. Click anywhere in the scene, but make sure no objects are selected, so you can see the scene setting on the right side. Open the light panel, and you can change the ambient color, ambient intensity, and shadow setting. I will finalize the spotlight and the point light positions. Actually, I want to make the point light slightly brighter, so let's set it to 0.45. The top light is not placed in the middle, so let's update its position. Okay, now we are on the final process, which is setting up the interaction. Before setting the interaction or any animation, it's very important to organize the object layer structure. First, select the dome, outline, lights, and floor. Press Ctrl Z to make a group and rename it Body Top Group. Move the squid or your passenger object under the top right group, so all objects are now included in the UFO.group. Select all objects, including the two lights, and group them with Ctrl Z. Rename this group UFO.roots. Next, let's move the pivot point. The pivot point is the reference point an object rotates, scales, or moves around. By default, it's placed in the center of the object, but we can move it to a different position to control how the object behaves during animation or interaction. If you are familiar with After Effects, the pivot point works basically the same as the anchor point. Currently, our UFO.roots pivot point is a bit higher than the actual center of the UFO group. To change the pivot point in Spline, first, make sure your object is a group object. It has to be a group in order to move the pivot point in Spline. Hold the Alt key, then select the group object. Now you will see the gizmo of the object. Move the gizmo of the UFO.roots group to the middle of the UFO. The UFO.group pivot point can stay at the top of the passenger or slightly below the top light. Let's add a state to set the animation. Hit the plus button on the right states panel. It will automatically create two states first, which are base states and states. Select the states and change the UFO group's Z rotation value to -4. Then select the base state and change the Z rotation to 4. Now we have two states that rotate between 4 and -4 on the Z axis. Next, hit the plus button on the event panel. Select the transition action and open the transition settings. We want to make a transition between base state and states. Change the transition length to 2 seconds. For the sequence setting, change the loop option from none to infinite and pinpoint. Let's check the preview. Now our UFO is swaying from side to side. Exit the preview and move the point light under the top light group. Preview again to confirm. The loop animation looks good. The animation is ready to go. For the last step, let's add the mouse follow interaction. Select the UFO.root and add events. The default event setting is set to start, so let's change it to follow. This follow event makes the mouse follow interaction. The target is set as cursor, which is correct. I want to change damping, but first, let's see what the damping value does. The default damping is 1. Preview with the setting. You can see your UFO follows right after your mouse cursor, but it's too close. Go back to the editor screen, change the damping values to a larger number, something like 600. Preview again. Now the UFO will follow your cursor with a nice distance. You can play around with the damping value. Keep in mind that we are setting this on a desktop screen. On mobile view, it might be too far. I will change the damping value to 400 and the reset speed to 2. Fortunately, Spline's preview mode allows you to change the screen size, which is amazing. Click the 2 arrows icon next to the export button to toggle the resize preview mode. From here, you can change the screen size or drag the sidebars. Let's see what happens if the width is smaller, like on mobile device. The UFO is too big compared to the screen width and doesn't fit the screen. Let's fix the size for mobile view. Exit from preview mode and go to the frame setting on the top right. Change the auto zoom setting to yes. Next, add a new camera from the toolbar. Make sure you select the camera, then snap and use this camera for viewport. Adjust the camera position so the UFO is placed in the middle of the screen. Go back to preview mode again. Now, if you change the screen size, the UFO will automatically scale nicely. We now have a responsive 3D interactive UFO. On mobile or tablet device, the UFO will follow the position you place or touch on the screen. So congratulations, we did it! Our scene is ready to publish now. Go to the export setting from the top. We will use a public URL this time, but you can also export in multiple options such as image, video, and embed code for websites like iframe or HTML. For the export setting, make sure the main scene and camera are the correct ones selected. I have a paid plan in Spline, so I can hide the Spline logo, but if you are on a free plan, the Spline logo will appear at the bottom of your exported scene. In the play settings, you can set details such as orbit limits and touch settings. I will leave them as default, but I will switch the logo setting to yes, so it matches what free plan users will see. Make sure to update the public URL after making any changes. Open the public URL. Now we have a 3D UFO with a little passenger that follows your cursor. You can also orbit the camera by dragging on the scene. This scene I made is shared on the Spline Community and remix is available, so feel free to use it as a reference or collaborate on your projects. The remix link is in the description. I'm looking forward to seeing your version of the UFO. One more note, we can rename the scene itself. Click the scene name shown on the top left and double-click to rename it. Don't forget to update the public URL if you've changed it. The scene name will also be displayed as the browser tab title for the public URL. That's all for today's adventure in Spline Universe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun and learned something new. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a like and subscribe. It really helps motivate me to keep creating more for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you soon. Bye!